Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about Next.js 16, and this is a React framework actually. Okay, that's used to simplify many things that from React. Okay, for example, Next.js 16 uses app router. This is the brain of Next.js basically. What it really is internally, the app router is a file system based UI plus data layout architecture system. It controls routing. This is it. So basically, this is what app router is. Okay, each folder equals to URL segment. Okay, this is an important concept. Each folder is equals to URL segment. That means, let's say I created a new folder under app. Okay, and I name it dashboard. Okay, under dashboard I just type page.tsx. Okay, and so to access this page, all I have to do is go to this route, dashboard, like this. That's it. So basically it simplifies routing for us. We don't have to worry about routing. If you remember in React, what we used to do this is we have to use install another library like React router DOM and specify the routes manually, each route, and again you have to go to this page and link it with the use link to create a link in order for us to create a route, right? You have to do it manually, which is a lengthy process. But in Next.js, it routing is very simple. All you have to do is just create a folder, and then you can access put whatever you put inside the folder. Okay, the page, you can access it using just the path of the folder, like this. Okay, URL and this. So we have layout hierarchy. Yeah, so and we have to remember one thing, that the page.tsx, the page is actually what we call the it's like in React, if you remember, we can type any name there, like you can say index.jsx or index something, app.jsx, right? We have a folder called a file called app.jsx, right? Basically this is in Next.js, this is what is called page.tsx. You can create it under any route. Okay, write the code inside page.tsx, and then you will be able to run it using the path. Okay, and layout is just like layout.tsx is just basically we have two types of layout. We have nested layout and we have root layout. Okay, so better for me to install this one, and then I can show you actually and practice. Let me just go here and type Next.js. Okay, so this is their website. Open link. It's a React framework used by some of the world's largest company. Next.js enables you to create high quality web application with the power of React components. Okay, to get started we can use this command, next npx create next app at latest. Okay, what's Next.js? Everything you need to build a great product. Let's go ahead and start. Let me just create let me close this one, and just go ahead and type cmd, and I'm just going to create here cd. I'm just going to call it desktop, and cd I'm going to actually create here mecdir. I'm going to create a directory here. I'm going to call it Next.js _ project 4, because I have multiple projects actually. cd Next.js _ project 4. So right now, to install Next.js, all I have to do is just copy this one. npx create next app at latest. Here you can type the project name. I'm just going to leave it default my app. Yeah, it's better to leave it at use recommended defaults. It will install TypeScript. TypeScript is also it helps you to write clean code actually. Okay, we will talk about TypeScript after we finish this one. And ESLint, we have Tailwind CSS app router. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it as default here and just give it some time. It's going to install. Okay, I'm just going to pause it because it's taking too much time. So it just finished installing. So once we are done, we can just check here. We go to cd my app, it's the one that we installed, and code dash. So it will open for us the Visual Studio Code. Trust all author parent folder. Okay. So basically, the first thing I need to do is go to page here. It's the same idea of we have to delete this one here. Okay, first we have to make sure that it's actually running. To run the Next.js, we just have to do npm run dev, and it's going to run for us the application. Okay, here remember, Next.js is just a React framework, so all the commands that we used to use, most of 90% of the commands that works on React is going to work here. Okay, see, this is RFC, it's just a React framework. Okay, so you can type here hello and see here. It's just we can go ahead and go to localhost 3000. That's it. Here we have hello. So basically this is the same as React. And so basically let's say I want to create another route. Okay, I'm going to call it dashboard here. All I have to do is just create any folder. It doesn't have to be just dashboard, anything. Okay, and then I create a file under it. It has to be named page.tsx. Remember this, tsx is an extension for TypeScript, it's not JavaScript. Okay, if you notice, we didn't call it JS, we call it tsx. This is because we'll be using TypeScript. Okay, so we'll talk about it at the end of the session. So just like this, and you can write RAFCE here. RAFCE, and here I'm just going to type welcome to to dashboard. So now let me just refresh this one. You see here, let's say I want to navigate to this one, the dashboard route. All I have to do is just write here dashboard, and that's it. See, it's saying welcome to dashboard. You see how easy it is to create a route in Next.js. That's the biggest advantage. You don't have to specify the routes manually. All you have to do is just create a folder, name it with the path name, how you want to name it, and just create the page.tsx under it. This is one benefit of Next.js, and it has layout persistence, rendering behavior, loading state, error handling, everything flows through it. Okay, so each folder is a URL segment. We talked about this. So layouts, when we talk about layout, basically we're talking about this one. This is the layout folder. So this is what we call a root layout. So this basically this is the children here. This is what controls what's displayed on the page, basically how it is displayed and stuff. So for example, this is global. This is the root layout, so it reflects globally. Okay, so for example here we have children here. So this is basically the page.js X. So let's say I want to put I want to specify here something. I'm going to say here let's say I want to specify something here, folder or something. Let's say I want something to appear at the top here, okay, and regardless of whether I'm on this path or another route or another page, it should be persist across changes of this one. So in that case, I can write something here on the layout, okay, because it will whatever you change on the layout, it's going to reflect to all the pages on your pages on the root layout. So let me go ahead and create something. I'm just going to try to create something, navbar or something, okay, not a route, just a component actually. No need, it doesn't have to be a route. You can just type a component here, any component. Okay, I'm just going to call this component. I'm just going to add navbar.tsx. Okay, I'm just going to use RFCE here. Let me rename it actually. It's much better if it's just navbar like this normal, and remove this one. So I'm just going to again this is just to test. So I'm just going to use link. Let me just go here, quick fix, add import from next link, and href is missing, so just type here href and go to, let's say, home or something. Go to dashboard, for example, dashboard or something. I can just say here dashboard. So let's say I want to have a link that dashboard link. Okay, go to dashboard here. Okay, so that can be accessed from anywhere I am in the page. So all I have to do is just import. Actually, you can just type here nav bar. Okay, on the layout. You see what I did here, and save it here. Okay, see what I have here. So right now I was able to import on the layout. Okay, now I just want to create another route just so we can test. I'm going to call it what we have after tasks or whatever. Yeah, tasks here. I'm going to name put page.tsx here, .tsx and rfce. I'm just going to say here welcome, no, just welcome to tasks page. I'm just going to remove this one and save this one. So when you go to tasks here, see, welcome to task page. But still, if you notice here, go to dashboard, still there, the link. Okay, and if I go back again to dashboard or whatever, wherever I go, doesn't matter, still it's going to persist the link, the nav bar, right? Because I put it in the layout. I put it inside the layout, the component inside the layout on the top of the children. So when I go to, yeah, so basically when I go to, let's say I go to tasks here, I go to dashboard, it's going to take me to there. So that's the idea of layouts actually. And this is global layout, like root layout. Okay, that's why it's reflecting for all. But let's say I want a specific layout for dashboard or for tasks or something. I can create a new file here, call it layout.tsx. Okay, and I can just yeah, I can just copy this one, put it here. Okay, paste this one, for example, and change stuff here. Change, let's say what I want to change here. This is not a root layout, it's going to be dashboard layout. And the metadata you can change. Yeah, you can keep it if you better remove it, so it can take it from there. And that's it. I think this should work, but 1 second. Yeah, remove this one as well. So let me see what happens. Can't resolve action. Let's see. Remove what happens. Okay, so right now I have a layout inside the dashboard, right? So what I want to do is create a new folder. Okay, that I can path. Okay, I want to access only when I am inside the dashboard. Okay, so let me create a new, no, under app, let me create a new route. I'm going to call it admin or something. Yeah, I'll keep it admin, it's okay. Rename admin, that's fine. Okay, inside I'm going to type page.tsx, tsx, and I'm going to say rfce. So welcome to admin page. So you see this admin page, actually I want to access it. I want to put a route inside dashboard only when we are to be reflected only for dashboard. This layout will be reflected only for dashboard. This is what we call nested layout. So here I'm just going to call no, actually I created a route. Actually it should be I created the component right before here, navbar.tsx. Yeah, I can create another component here. It doesn't have to be admin here, just leave that one. Okay, I'm just going to create here admin.tsx or something. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this one. We don't need it actually here. We don't need it. Cut it from here and delete it. It's delete admin itself. We don't need this one. So we'll go to admin here .tsx. So I want this component to be reflected only in wait, admin. Let me see if the component is actually here. Yes, it is. So change it to admin, 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 admin or something. It's just an example, so we can save it here and type here admin and save it here. So you see, now when I go back to, let's say I go back to tasks here, okay, it's not reflecting. When I go to task route or path, it's not showing go to admin. Okay, when I go to the home, when I leave it like this, home page, it's not showing the go to admin. But when I go to dashboard, see, welcome to admin page. Okay, so because I only put the I only put it there. Yeah. Okay, so the idea is basically yeah, this is what we call nested layouts. Actually, you can put layout inside the path, inside the specific route, which we call nested layout, so it will be reflected only to the what's inside the folder. Or we can specify it globally here on the root layout, so it will be reflected for all the routes. So let's continue here. Yeah, this is what I told you, right? Dashboard UI, global UI, dashboard UI, and dashboard content. So basically, why layouts matter? They don't re-render. Okay, preserve states, speed navigation, reduce network request. Okay, real example: sidebar stays loaded, navbar stays loaded, only the page content changes. So that's the idea. You see what we did here, navbar here. Whenever we change, if you notice here, whenever we change the route here from task, whether it's dashboard, the navbar always stays at the top. It doesn't change, right? Only the content changes. That's the idea of layouts. So special files we have here: page.tsx, route UI. Yeah, this is the UI routes, okay, and layout shared UI, okay. Loading is basically loading.tsx is just a skeleton. Skeleton means when we whenever we refresh the page, if you notice here, for example, when we talk about skeleton, let's say YouTube here, you see what you see when we refresh this page. You saw something before this videos appear. You see this one, this white gray objects, drawings. So basically that's what we call by skeletons. It's good for UX, so that yeah, instead of seeing blank page, you can just display a skeleton before you display the actual content. You see, so this is what we call by skeleton. So yeah, this is loading.tsx, error.tsx, this is error not found. Let's say I go to a route that's not available here. I didn't specify, so it can go to not found. Server component versus client components. So this is the core performance model for modern React and Next.js. So Next.js is actually server component by default. Okay, that means what actually happens is browser requests, server runs component, server sends HTML, browser, and no JS needed. Less JavaScript means faster application. Okay, what they do, basically a server component can access that database directly. Okay, read file system, call backend service, fetch securely, hide secrets. Okay, that's the benefit of a server component. Okay, so for example, this one here, you see what I'm doing here. export default async function product page. This is just a normal function, async function, and const product await prisma dot product dot find many. So what I'm saying here, prisma is just an ORM, okay, object relational model. It's allows us to communicate with the SQL, with the database. Simplifies the process. Basically allows us to create schemas and everything on the Next.js itself. So basically just say that I'm trying to find many. This one means just I'm fetching basically I'm accessing the database. Actually this is the database. This allows me to access the database, okay, from the server component. Okay, then return this page. Why server component? No API call needed. Okay. Yeah, you see, remember whenever we want to access, if you went through my MERN course, okay, what we did first, we created a backend, and then we for using Express.js we created APIs and Node.js, and also we in front end we used React fetch to fetch. We added the URL for the API, and we try to use the URL to access the API, right? So here we don't have to do this. This is simple. It simplifies the process for us. First of all, we don't need different backend systems and different front-end system. You can do everything on Next.js. Next.js can work as a backend and front-end, both at the same time. Okay, so basically you can even call the database directly using server components. Okay, like this. Okay, and smaller bundle. That's the benefit of server component. The database directly accessed. What server component cannot do is basically you use state, okay, and use effect, okay, event handlers, browser API, because they never run in the browser. Okay, server components cannot do this one. Okay, any client side client use state, use effect, event handler, this stuff. If you're going to use this one, you have to use a client component. This client component. Client component, what happens is HTML plus JavaScript sent, browser executes code. More JS equals to slower, use only when necessary. So basically, to use a client component, you have to specify use client at the top. This is very important. Okay, that means to use state, you have to specify use client on the top. If you don't, you're going to get an error, and your code is not going to work actually. Okay, so server components at the top always, and client component inside. So this minimizes JS, and yeah. So and we have so basically, let's see what we mean by that. Let's say, okay, let's try something here. Let's try to do something here. Okay, let's just implement what we just learned. Okay, let me inside tasks. Okay, let me say I want to use state here. Okay, const use state. I want to just count or whatever, and count, set counter equals to use state, and I'll type here 0. Okay, and change this one, actually make it tasks, and change this one actually tasks, or whatever. So basically this is a counter. Yeah, so I'm using use state here. Okay, and I'm going to create a function here, const add increment number is equals to use arrow function. So basically I'm just going to call here set counter, so count plus 1, right? Yeah, so basically this is increment. So basically welcome task page. I'm just going to add here bracket here count, just so we can see what it is, and add a button here also, just a button here on click. I'm going to send to increment, increment number. Okay, so because I leave it open like this, it's not going to work. No, you're supposed to do this one actually, and increase, and so you see we just got an error. This is what we wanted to do actually. If you read this error, so what they're saying, you are importing a component that needs use state. This React hook only works in a client component. To fix this file, mark the file or its parent with the use client directive. So this file it's never going to run. No matter what you write here, it's never going to run because you are using use state, right? You're using on click. You can also, if you use effect also, it's not going to run for you. Okay, because these are client components. For it to run, you just have to specify one thing here, like this, use client. See, now it's working. That's it. That's all we have to do. So now it's working. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the idea actually. We have to use client to use state, use effect, or any to interact with the web, something that has to do with the browser client side. You just have to use effect, or else it won't work. For server components, you don't need to specify anything because Next.js is a server component by default. Okay, server side rendering behavior. Yeah, just so we know what we actually do, what we usually do is we create a separate client component, okay, and we leave the main page that will be displayed on the UI as a server component. We just import the client component inside the server component. So that's what we do. That's best practice. Anyways, request server renders and HTML. Okay. So the server side rendering is just used when user specific data or dashboard auth page frequently changing data. So we specify on the server side rendering. For example, here runs on every request. Okay, so static site generation, build time, generate HTML, reuse forever. This is for blog post, landing page, and documentation, marketing page. Extremely fast. So yeah, for this kind of pages, you should use SSG, static site generation, and for this, for constantly changing page, frequently changing data, auth page, dashboard, use server side rendering. And Next.js also automatically does this for you actually. So streaming is huge. So streaming, what's streaming? It's UI loads in parts. Okay, so for example, the nav bar loads first. Okay, the content loads later. That's the idea of streaming. Okay, example, loading.tsx shows the skeleton, right? The real content replaces it. This is better UX for UX. That's the idea of streaming. Okay, يعني all the elements or all the parts of your UI will not load at the same time. Okay, part of it will load first and others will the content, for example, will load later after some time. So that's the idea of streaming. UI loads in parts. So data fetching plus caching. Caching is Next.js caching is extremely aggressive. The default behavior whenever you fetch, this is what we use to fetch. Yeah, we know this from React actually, to fetch from any API. So it's automatically cached. So it prevents duplicate requests, speeds navigation, reduces load. Okay, so caching means basically it doesn't have, for example, let me load here. Let me load this one. Let's say it displayed the data here for me. Okay, so now initially it's going to go to where you go here. But the first time it's just going to go to the server, right? So basically it's going to go to the server to fetch the data for me. Okay, but if I have caching implemented here, if I'm using a feature from caching, it's just going to cache the results. Okay, next time I reload, it's just going to display immediately. It's not going to go to the server again to fetch the exact same data. Okay, that's the idea of caching. So Next.js has caching by default. Uses caching by default. So let's continue. Yeah, we were actually on caching, and we have here control cache. Okay, control cache is just a way to control the cache, basically. Yeah, so we have here control cache no store. Okay, this means that it's always fresh. Okay, yeah, it's not going to store on the cache. Okay, that means it's not going to store on the cache. Okay, whenever it fetches data from the server, if you specify this one, it's just going to, you're just asking the cache to ignore the response every time. You can manually say like this if you don't want to use the cache. Yeah. Revalidate, basically you're saying here revalidate 60 seconds. So I'm just saying update every 60 seconds. So for the 60 seconds, it's valid. Consider the cache is valid. But after 60 seconds, update it. This is the revalidate option. Cache invalidation. This is, let's say we change the yeah, let's say we changed already the yeah, we modified the database or something. We changed the database, like we added or we deleted or we edited. So then we have to use revalidate tag products. So this is just going to update, give us change the response to the latest one. So mental model, fetch, cache, database. So server actions is also another important part, another important feature that makes Next.js better than React. Many other frameworks also, not just React, many other programming frameworks also. So the reason is server actions. We said first the routing, it simplifies routing. Okay, that's one feature. And the second feature we is actually server actions. Server actions is like, so basically before the what we do, if we want to get any data from the database, we build a form, we go to the APIs, submit, we send it to the API, through the API, and to the backend, and then we access the database from there, right? But in server actions, we don't have to go through that stuff. We can just type the form and then use the server action, then access the API, the database. No need for separate backend or APIs. Okay, basically server action is a replacement for APIs. You can access the database directly from the server action actually, but remember to use server. So this is what we have to use server and server if you want to use server actions. So basically this is the idea, no API needed. So here, this is the form, I write it on my UI client. So I go to create user, right? Create user, this is my server action. So it just handles the data. Okay, it updates on the database. So when to use for CRUD operations, for mutations, for forms, for mutations, simple backend logic. When not to use, for public APIs, third-party integration, complex backend service, use route handle. So we use server actions for CRUD operations, for anything that can be done for simple stuff, right? For forms and stuff. But we cannot use server actions if we want for third-party integration. Like let's say I build this web application. I want also to build a mobile application to use the same data that my web application is using. So I'm just going to use the APIs. I'm not going to use server actions because we're going to use APIs, same APIs, right? That's the idea. It will be public API. So we have to use route handlers. Route handlers are basically backend APIs. Okay, this is another strong feature that makes Next.js the best. Okay, we said first, it simplifies routing. Second, it has a powerful feature called server actions that makes you to handle access the database directly and simplify instead of communicating with the separate backend. And route handlers backend APIs, you can write API actually from Next.js itself. You don't need a separate backend framework or library or separate language to create a backend API. You can do it on the Next.js itself in one application. So all these features you can have it on one single application, full backend inside Next.js. So basically, to write APIs, all you have to do is just go to app here, create a folder here, just write API. Okay, and under API, just type whatever you want here. Let's say I want API for tasks. Okay, and but create a folder, preferably under API. You can create any folder here. Let's say tasks here, for example. Okay, under tasks, I will just type route.ts. That's it. Okay, and if I have another API, I just go to API. I do the same thing. I create users here, and under users, I just type route.ts. It's that simple to create an API. You don't have to set up a separate backend framework or anything. Okay. So let's say I want to create a get route. All I have to do is just type here export async function, and I just type here get. Remember to use this one, get. You have to use the method here. It doesn't have to be get, it can be post, it doesn't matter. Or it can be put. Remember, it can be delete. All of the methods that we have. We said that get is to fetch data, post to send data to the server, and put to update data, delete to delete. So let's get here, and you can type here request actually. No, we don't need to type anything actually, because we're not getting any. We don't need any data from the request body. So just const, let's say here tasks here, for example. No, just type here result or whatever, result equals to await Prisma dot user. Yeah, I can't write it here because actually I didn't install Prisma yet, but basically we're going to type this command, Prisma dot user find many. This is just a command to fetch data from the database. That's it. Okay, and then return it in the JSON format to the front end. That's it. That's simple. You can have more than one API on the same route. It's okay. On the same page here, I can put here post. That's okay also. That is fine. Okay, you can have many, as much as you want. Yeah. So when to use, we said that for REST APIs, for mobile apps, yeah, whenever you want to interface with the mobile app or any external integration, Stripe or callbacks, all this requires APIs actually. When you want to any external integration, you have to use APIs. You can't do it using server actions. That's the main difference. Simple mutations, server actions. Like for CRUD application, it's better to use server actions. For external API, route handlers. Which is the main difference. Layouts equals to performance secrets, how they work internally. So actually we talked about layouts, so I don't think navigation only page change, layout still lives. We talked about this. I don't want to go through it again. So navigation system. Next, navigation is smart. What happened is hover link, prefetch page. Okay, when you hover a link through a link, it's automatically prefetches the page. When you click it, it's instant navigation. So that's the powerful feature in Next.js. So this is actually what I just did myself here, right? On the tasks here, if you notice, here, not on the task, on the admin or somewhere, I did this on dashboard, I think. Yeah, on dashboard I did not here. I did on the components. 1 second. Page tasks, no components, admin, nav. Yeah, on navbar here. So you see what I did here? I'm using link from next link, okay, and href to go to this route, go to dashboard, right? So what it does is it has partial rendering, caching, layout, reuse, prefetching. So this is actually what it does. And full stack architecture pattern, client UI, server component, server action, database, real product page, server component, yeah, add to cart, server actions, payments, route handlers, yeah. Performance system. Next.js is designed to reduce JavaScript, basically. Yeah. So Next.js is designed to reduce JavaScript. So why JavaScript size matters? More JavaScript is equals to slower page. And less JavaScript means faster page. Okay, how Next reduce JavaScript? It uses server components, code splitting. It uses streaming, optimized images, font optimization. All this basically are meant to reduce JavaScript code for faster pages. Okay, so image optimization, this is another feature in Next.js. Okay, you can for images, for example, to display image, you can use this one, import image. It has its own image here from next image. Okay, and you just import this one, image dot source here, for example. No, let me add it on the main page, actually, not here. Let me do it here on dashboard or something. Import image from next image, and you just type here image and source equals to you can type here product or whatever, it doesn't matter really. You can check here on the public here. This is the folder where we store the image actually. Let's say I want to use vercel.svg inside I just type here svg, okay, vercel.svg. Under the public vercel.svg. Okay, I don't want to create anything new, and I have to specify width and equals to 300, and height is equals to 200. Okay, so I'm just going to put here this way. And what's the issue? Add missing attributes. Alt attributes also is missing. Alt is important, so just type here vercel, and that's it. So this is an image. I save it. Let me go to the page. Localhost. Let me close this one. Let me go to tasks. I think it's tasks, right? No, it's actually dashboard. Just go to dashboard here. It's not displaying the image. Cannot be a child. Wait. New body. Previous one is not first mounted. So let me see what's the issue actually. This is fine. The image should actually work. Actually, it's white. Even if it's working, we cannot actually see it properly. So choose a different image. Next.svg. Let's try this one. Doesn't have to be this. You can add anything inside this folder. See, it's showing here. Next.js. You see? So basically, it doesn't have to be this. You can put any files inside this one, inside the public folder. Okay, any image inside the public folder, and call it from here. It will work. It will give you it will compress the image, lazy load also, and resize it. Okay, so this is not just a normal image element. This is actually in Next.js. It's optimized. It optimizes the image for you automatically. You don't have to do anything. Same like link, right? So Edge versus Node runtime. Edge runs close to the users worldwide. Uses for auth check, redirect, and geologic. And Node runtime full backend environment. That's the difference. Okay, Edge runtime close to the users, and Node runtime full backend environment. Heavy processing, database access, file handling. So if you need speed, you have to use Edge. If you need power, you have to use Node. That's the idea. Production essentials. These are required for real app. Environment variables. Environment variables used for secrets, key, and configuration. So basically, environment variables are, let's say I want to create a new environment variable here. I create new file .env. Okay. Here I'm going to store all the URLs, all the secrets, keys, API keys, whatever. I'm going to put it here, okay, for security purpose. Okay, you can't do it on the actual page because it's not secure, right? So it's recommended to just, for example, the database URL here. I'm going to put it here, okay, and I'm going to run it here. So for security purpose, it has to be at .env. Not only this, and you have to also make sure that you have a file called .getignore. Okay, this one. So, and it has to specify, it has to mention here .env file. Okay, that means don't commit when you click commit, and when you try to deploy this application, it's not going to store. This is not. It's going to make sure this is ignored. Okay, with Git, when you it's going to ignore this env file. Okay, it's a recommended practice. So authentication flow, we have login, session, protected route, usually handled via middleware, and SEO metadata. Metadata, basically this is improves search ranking. This is metadata. We have metadata here. Export const metadata. We have title, create next app. We we have description generated by create next app. So this is what we get when we refresh here. If you notice here, you see it's saying on the title create next app, right? This is basically the title, okay, and the description is generated by Next.js app. So this is used for SEO, for metadata, to improve search ranking. Okay, error handling, this is UI for failure, prevents app crash. So it's always recommended to create one file inside your app here, error.tsx, and write the code here, what you want to display if there is an error, so it can prevent app crashes. And the ultimate architecture understanding, so the app router is the structure, and yeah. So I think now we finished Next.js, but I want to go through also next TypeScript, because this is also an important part. Okay, we can go ahead and continue with TypeScript. Okay. Things we need to understand about TypeScript is actually it's JavaScript plus TypeScript, type safety, plus better tooling. That's the idea of TypeScript. It just adds type safety. So it helps you catch bugs before runtime, okay, understand large code bases, write safer APIs, scale projects, improve autocomplete. That's the purpose of TypeScript. Okay, it catches bugs before runtime. Okay. So the mental model is JavaScript is a dynamic, anything, anytime, right? TypeScript is predictable contracts. Okay, you're adding rules to your data. Okay, so it just helps you write clean code. So this is the first thing you use daily. Variables, type annotation, this is the most important. So for example here, let age. Usually in JavaScript you just define let age like this, right? Let me go ahead and type here inside dashboard here, anything. I can just say here usually I'm just going to define let age equals to 25, right? But you see what I'm getting, an error. It's telling me age is declared, but it's no, it's not an error actually. It's just assigned value but never used, reassigned use cost. Okay, so we can just specify here age, for example. Okay, yeah, okay, let me just change this to const. It doesn't matter actually, it's the same. Yeah, so yeah, so basically in TypeScript we can just type here. Basically it knows that this is age is a number. Okay, it already knows that. Okay, we don't need to specify manually here like this. If you want to specify, you can do it actually here. We can just we're telling it age is a number. Okay, expect a number type. Okay, the same thing here. Let name equals to John. We're telling it name is string, expect string type. Is admin is boolean, expect boolean type. We're just, these are the common types: string, number, boolean, object, array, null, and defined. We're just telling the variable what to expect. Okay, so here like this, for an array we use like the string bracket. Okay, for number of arrays we use this one, number array, number of arrays, arrays that are its content is numbers. Okay, or array string. Function, always type parameters plus return. Basically for a function also we can define it this way, same idea here. After the variable, after a parameter, you just type here the number, right? The type. It has if it's string, if it's number, number, and also you have to put here additional. You can define additional here. This is I'm telling it the return. I'm telling the return the output is going to be a number. Okay, so that's what I'm saying basically here. So if I copy here and put it here. So basically I'm just telling it that the output is going to be a number. That's it. Okay, and let me just remove this one and see what happens. Nothing will happen, I think. Yeah, so you see, if you just define a function like this, okay, and okay, when you call this function, for example, you see it's giving me an error. Parameter A implicitly has any type. Okay, parameter B has implicitly any type. That's why we have to specify the type when we define a function here. For example, A is going to be a number. Okay, I'm telling it A is going to be a number, and B is going to be a number as well. From this, actually, he will know that the return is also going to be a number, because A is a number, B is a number, the output is also going to be a number. That's why we don't have to specify here, I think. See? Yeah, you see this one? It's saying A number, B number, yeah. So, and void return, let's say we have this kind of function. Okay, always type function parameters. Let TypeScript infer simple returns. Okay, yeah. So when you paste here, let's say, yeah, here I'm saying it's a string, and here there is nothing to return. Let me remove this void. Okay, what happens? We have string here. Let me see message log here. It's actually inferring it by itself. Okay, so it knows that there is no return here. Okay, because I'm just displaying the console log, right? So type inference, let TS work for you. TypeScript automatically detects type. Okay, let name equals to John, inferred as a string. That's why we don't have to actually type here number or string or whatever. It will automatically infer, detects the type. TypeScript will automatically detect the type. You see, if you hover over this one, yeah, TypeScript so don't overtype. Okay, let TS infer when obvious. Okay, this is very bad, like this name string John. We don't have to do this actually. Okay, better just let name equals to John. Use types only when needed. That's it. Object types, daily usage, used everywhere. API, React, props, database data. Okay, this is object type. Okay, let user, this is an object. Okay, when you put it here, okay, we are inferring the type. But if we don't do this, it's going to give an error. What's the error? Member name implicitly has any type. Member age has implicitly any type. So we have to define the type. What we have to tell TypeScript what to expect. The name is going to be a string. Just type string here, and the age is going to be a number. Just type a number here. Number. Yeah. And most type aliases, real world, most used in industry is this one. Okay, so you can use string for ID, name, and email. Like this is the most used pattern here. So for objects we have to define the type, and for function also we have to remember to define the type. This is very important. Why this matter? You reuse types everywhere. Okay, you reuse types everywhere. Like for example, if you define here, let's say I go here const user, yeah, let's say this one here, this is actually type here. Let me go here, let me type here type, let me say user. Okay, I'm just defining the type here, ID equals to string, and name is equals to string. Email is equals to string. Okay, so I just defined the type here, user. Okay, so I can access it globally. So all I have to do is when I want to access it outside, I just type const here user, and I infer the type here user equals to something like this. Right, I'll put space here, and this can be inside the, I prefer this to be inside the, let's put it inside, for example here. Yeah, so this is one way of doing this. Okay, So we can define the type globally like this and access it and using this one. Yeah, so optional and default parameters, we have optional fields. Like we want to make name optional, you just have to add question mark here, that's it. You want to make email optional, you just have to add question mark. Read only, which is very helpful. Read only, if you add read only here, for example, okay, read only, that means prevents modification. Okay, basically I'm telling no one can modify the something. This is used for configurations, API keys. And union type, this is very important, use when value can be multiple types. Like let's say ID can be a string or a number, then you can specify like this, number. Okay, this is a union type. If it can be more than one type, if the value of the variable can be more than one type. Okay, real examples we have. Yeah, for this is a real example. This is actually a good example. Let's say we define, we practice one more time. Type status equals to loading, and we type here success, and we type here error. So basically I'm just saying that status can be loading or success or error, so it can be more than one type, right? So this is used for UI handling. 2026 industry standard, use union instead of enums in most cases. Okay, use unions instead of enums in most cases. Okay, so interface versus type, you will see both here. Interface like this and type like this, right? So use type by default, this is type like this. Use interface only for classes and library extension. Okay, like this. We can also do this way, but mostly we're going to use type, but we can use also interface. It's the same thing, except that the recommendation is actually to use type by default and use interface only for class and library extension. So because more flexible, union supports it, and modern ecosystem prefers it. Okay, generic, high value, used everywhere in React class APIs. Okay, generics are reusable types, works for any type. Okay, generic means like here function, identity, I put T here, value T. Real example, type API response, I type here T equals to data equals to T, success boolean. Use API response user, product, API response product. Okay, so React example, use state string. Okay, let generics early, learn and generic early, huge payoff. So basically the idea of generics are, it works for any types. Okay, it's used everywhere, so that's the benefit of so let's continue. Like we said here, basically T is generic is just a placeholder for any type, right? So API response, I type here user, product, I can use any type here, so it's just a placeholder. Okay, utility types, massive productivity boost, used in daily and real projects. So type user update equals to partial, makes all fields optional. Partial, okay, partial means basically let's say I want to update the user, we can have partial updates. It doesn't have to be, yeah, so partial is used for that. Okay, you can update partially. Pick user name, omit user ID, just going to user without ID, so omit user ID. Record, very useful, and utility, that's enough actually. And type narrowing, real bug prevention, we have used when handling multiple types. Let's say API response type narrowing is type of ID equals a string. Like this when you have multiple types, you can just type here, it can be string or name. Okay. TS with React production essentials. Yeah, we can use this one also. Title we said string, and on click we can returns void. Yeah, that means it doesn't return anything basically. And use state we can specify number here. Event types we can, yeah, this is important actually. We can use it with E. React.change event HTML input element. You have to remember this one. Always type props. State typing only when needed. Okay. And yeah, always type props like this, button props. We define title on click. Yeah, this is important. This is optional actually. State types only when needed. So any versus unknown is basically when we let data equals to any. Avoid, don't use any basically. Removes all safety. There is no, if you use any, that means there is no benefit of using TypeScript. Basically you're telling anything can be used. So unknown is better to be used. Forces validation. Data equals to unknown. If you have to, you have to choose between any and unknown. Try to use unknown. Never use any in production code. This any is actually any type. Like here, for example, here you can type. There are many things you can type here. It doesn't just have to be any. Right, you can go ahead and check here. You can type, if you type any here, you can do that, right? So yeah, you can use unknown instead. So unknown is better actually. tsconfig that actually matter, only few options matter. Like tsconfig is this one. This is where we configure the TypeScript, tsconfig.ts. Few things that matter are strict equals to true, always enable it. Where is it? Strict equals to 2. Control tsconfig.json, right? Control F, strict. Yeah, this one, strict is equals to true. Okay, it has to be true. It will be true by default, but you just have to check it. Make sure it's enabled. This activates null checks, better inference, real safety. Okay, module types. We have export types, user, for example. Import types, user from types. Improves performance and clarity. Okay, and this one is very important. Zod plus TypeScript. This we have to know. Okay, because we are going to use this a lot in our the future codes. So basically, what is Zod? Zod is used to validate the data that you send to the backend, and yeah, it can be used in the front end or also in the backend. Okay, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you can use it in the API, you can use it on the form and server actions, whatever. Okay, you have to use it because it's a way to validate user input. Okay, user inputted data before sending it to the server. Okay, also on the server we can validate again. That's the recommended practice. Let's go ahead and create a lib folder here. Okay, I'm just going to create schema. Okay, let me create one for user, or user.schema or something. User.schema.ts, schema.ts. Okay, here I'm just going to import Zod. I think it's not going to work for me because I didn't actually download Zod, but I think we should actually. This is a very important topic, and I think we should actually do it. cd desktop cd Next.js underscore project underscore 4 and cd my app, and I'm just going to npm I I'm going to use Zod. Zod is a library that helps you validate user input. It works with TypeScript, and it is like a must-know thing. So for example, here I can just type here Z now. No, not yet. Z from Zod. Automatically it came, and then I'm just going to create a schema here. For example, schema, or you can say user schema, or whatever schema. Yeah, task schema. Let's make it task schema. Schema here. Okay, I'm going to call z.object. Remember the syntax if possible. Try to memorize it. It's important. And we can type here the title, for example. Not the title. Usually we have ID, right? ID here. And we can type z.string. Okay. No, because we're trying to validate from the user, so it's going to be title here. I'm going to say z.string. Okay, I'm telling it. I'm saying that the title has to be string. Okay, and if I want to add more here, I can type here minimum. The minimum number of letters has to be for the title has to be 5 or 1. Okay, that's fine. And I can add maximum here. I can say I want it to be maximum of 10 characters. Okay, if I want, I can add more things here, like I can say yeah, let me just show you one by one here. Now let's go to description. Here, description, I will just add z.string. Again, description is going to be a string. It has to be a string. This is a way so it can check. In the minimum, I can specify here minimum, let's say 1, and maximum I can specify here 100 or whatever characters. Actually, we don't actually have to write min and max. You can, for example, let's say I want description to be optional. I can just say it's optional. That's it. So it doesn't have to be written, and we can add all this stuff. There are many options here. If you go to the options of Zod, you can type, for example, you can trim the white space. You can change it to uppercase if you want, to uppercase, to lowercase. You can make sure that it starts with a specific letter or stuff. You can use nullable, like it has to be something like that. You can add ends with, it has to end with something, and there's many more basically. Okay, so that's the idea of Zod. And then we have to use actually type here, and type let's say task input. This is important because this is what we are going to use to infer the type on the form fields, on the form component, or on the component that you're going to implement your CRUD or whatever. So basically, instead of defining the types of these fields again, you can use this type itself. Just say z.infer. Okay, z.infer, and type here, and type of actually schema, and that's about it. Actually, that's about it. So basically that's it. And no, not schema, actually it's supposed to be task schema. This is supposed to be the same as this one. So remember this pattern. Okay, now let's say I want to create a form inside a field. All I have to do is just go to the component, okay, wherever it is, and I can just infer it, right? I can import the product input form schema and use it here. This is a very important pattern. TypeScript best practices: use type instead of interface, prefer union over enums, enable strict mode, avoid any type function inputs, okay, use utility types, and use Zod for validation, use generics, keep types reusable. So yeah, so these are the recommended course, and